Master Coordinator Barb Lagoni, and one of
Thank
the
you.
top people in the country as far as not just nutrition, but also the business and just as far as what to do. But we're just very fortunate to be a partner with Barbara and what's his name, Steve.
Oh. Good old Watson.
And welcome to Mary.
And Mary, right.
Mary.
Well, Mary is actually a new Fast Track director from last spring, and she is a health coach. And so I thought we're going to be talking about prevention, how it really is no longer an option. And so Mary is going to join me with that. And I want to begin with Mary. I'm going to ask you to take the first slide because Mary works with folks who have a lot of health issues every day, and she's really been viewing firsthand how the health of Americans is declining. So, Mary, share with us a little bit about what you're seeing.
Well, with me, being a holistic health coach, I do have a lot of medical professionals sending me their clients, and when I get them, these medical professionals have put them through so many things, through medications, surgeries, and what ends up piling up is the amount of medications they are and the diagnoses they have and the types of issues. So when they come to me, they've exhausted all medical options, basically. And so when they come to me, they have major depression, they have anxiety, they have no energy, they all have issues with obesity. Most of the people I see have bipolar disorder, major anxiety, major addictions to sweets and carbs, and it's just a laundry list of medications that they're on. So it's a growing problem everywhere in the U.S., really.
Mm-hmm. And I know, I misspelled addictions and I put 2 O's in the 2. I did this quickly. And so, so it's looking kind of grim at your end. And I was just speaking in Dallas last weekend, and I always read a lot of things before I do nutritional seminars. And I just put some of the statistics on here that I came up with. The United States ranks 37th in the world among the advanced nations in life expectancy, and yet they spend more money per person than any other country in the world. We have almost 70% of our population is overweight or obese. 35% of them would be obese. And in children, even the obesity issue is growing. 1 out of every 3 kids is overweight. The cancer statistics continue to rise. It's 1 out of 3 for women, 1 out of every 2 men. There are 5 million people who have Alzheimer's, 3 million kids with learning disabilities. Autism continues to rise. Just a few years ago, it was 1 in 110 kids. Now it's 1 in 88.
Yeah, I see so many people with autism and ADD.
Do you? And ADD and the psychiatric disorders. Now this material here is coming from the Ultramind Solution by Mark Hyman, and he said that 1 out of every 4 adults now has a psychiatric disorder. You see a lot of those, Mary, I know. Depression is 20 million people. Anxiety affects 40 million people. 1 out of every 10 Americans is on an antidepressant, and I think that number is actually higher now. 8 million kids taking ADD meds. Asthma affects 16 million adults. 7 million children have asthma. It causes 3,600 deaths a year, and there are 6,000 children every year between the ages of 5 and 14 who die. Number 1 causes accidents. Number 2 causes cancer. So we have some work to do. And one of the authors I like to refer to who laid out a concept in his book, Never Be Sick Again, that I found really interesting. He said, from a biochemical perspective, he said there's really only one disease, and that is malfunctioning cells. And there are 2 causes for cells to malfunction. One is exposure to toxins, and the other is lack of nutrients. And so when we talk about prevention, that's a good place to start, is not focusing on treating symptoms, which is typically what the medical community, how they approach the issues of disease, but rather to address the causes. Let's limit our exposure to toxins, and let's make sure our cells are getting the nutrients they need. Well, on this topic of toxins, there was an interesting report from the President's Cancer Panel just 2 years ago. And the quote was, "It calls on America to rethink the way we confront cancer, including much more rigorous regulation of chemicals." And they cited a study in which the blood of newborn babies was analyzed, and 287 industrial chemicals were found in the umbilical cord blood. And the report said, to a disturbing extent, our babies are being born pre-polluted because we are exposed to so many toxins. And that's why, there are two product lines we don't talk about nearly as much on our Monday night calls, but they're so important. The first one is the Get Clean cleaning product line. I just love these products. I cannot imagine keeping house without them. In fact, a couple of weeks ago was my grandson's birthday, and he is now 13, which means he has big feet and he plays soccer, and that means that his soccer shoes are very expensive, like $75, $80 for these shoes. And his uncle had bought him these snazzy jazzy, bright orange, soccer shoes. And he was so excited. He put them on and he ran outside only to discover that the shoes were 2 sizes too small.
Oh, no.
They were 8.5s, and he takes 9.5. And so by that time, the dirt was well embedded in the soles of these shoes. So my daughter-in-law took the shoes home and tried to wash them off with whatever she had at home, and and then she took them back to the store, and the store wouldn't take them back, wouldn't exchange them because they were clearly worn. At which point I showed up to watch Caden that day, and I took a look at the shoes, and I went in the kitchen and I got out the Scour Off, which is this wonderful scouring paste that is made from natural ingredients. Wonderful product, very inexpensive, and it's just amazing what it cleans. And I just scrubbed the bottom of the shoes with that, and all of that stuff came off. I hippity-hopped over to the expensive soccer shoe store, and they exchanged it, never batted an eye. So these are very inexpensive products, but they can also save a lot of expensive things. But they're non-toxic. That's the important thing. They all biodegrade within 30 days. They are safe to use. They are very economical, and they work really well. So if you haven't tried them yet, you can order these products in mini kits, but most people get them in the starter kit because then you have all the bottles you need for the dilutions. But it's a great product line. And the second product line that, especially this time of year when the weather starts changing, is hard on our skin, is the Infusel skincare line. Is just remarkable. It's just loaded with nutrients, and it's literally nutrition therapy for our skin. And one of my favorite things to do is to take people to Shaklee meetings when I know the age of the people in the room, and have people try to guess the age of Shaklee people, because their skin is so beautiful that it really they really look so much younger than they are. And finally, medications are something we don't think about as being toxic, but they are indeed very toxic to the body. They're foreign to the body, and that means the liver and the kidney are constantly trying to filter them, and so they always have side effects. So, we're grateful for them. They save lives. But not for long-term purposes. And as soon as you can repair the thing that caused the breakdown that you needed the medication for, then you always want to work toward that, so that we keep the body using as safe and natural things as possible. So why do we have these terrible statistics in our health? And one is, yes, we are exposed to toxins, but the other is that our food supply is deteriorating as well in its quality and in its safety. And there are a number of people who are really quite crusaders in this area. One of them is Michael Pollan, Many of you have seen Food Inc. or Forks Over Knives or number of documentaries that are out now trying to raise awareness of Americans of what has happened to our food supply, what has happened with these genetically modified seeds that have, I've just been reading Wheat Belly by William Davis, who is a cardiologist, a fascinating book about what genetically modified seeds have done to wheat and baked goods and how it has affected our digestive systems, our immune systems, our inability to maintain a healthy weight. It's really amazing. So lots of concerns being raised here. And then what Americans eat. There's been a 2,000% increase in fast food sales since 1976. I saw a statistic one time that said 98% of American kids eat in a fast food restaurant at least once a week. 33% of our total calories is coming from fast food, a third of what we eat, and only 2% of our population ever gets the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables. And the fact that they label ketchup, French fries, and iceberg as our vegetables does not help at all.
They do that with pizza too.
Pizza too. And so we have a lot of issues. So if there were 4 changes that we want to start working toward as we practice prevention, certainly one would be eliminating and reducing wheat. And because virtually all the wheat, all the baked goods, anything that has wheat in it, even if it's whole grain wheat, it is still wheat from genetically modified seeds, and it is doing tremendous damage to our bodies. According to Wheat Belly, he said, there has been no testing done on what the effect would be on human health from these genetically modified seeds. Eliminating and reducing sugar and refined carbs is number 2. Adding 6 to 9 vegetables a day, fresh vegetables and fruits, so that we are eating natural foods that grow out of the earth. And then you do the best you can. But this is where, as you're working toward making changes in your diet, this is where supplements come in. And Mary, I'd like you to share your story here, if you would, because you were a holistic health coach that was, you were instructing people how to do diet and exercise and how to cook and so forth. How did you come to embrace supplementation and then Shaklee?
Well, in the very beginning, all I wanted to do was use just food and exercise in order to get the results that they wanted. So when I work with people, they really work on reaching their goals. So I saw a lot of success, but I knew there was a place for something else. And I had been using some herbs, but who knows where the source was for those herbs and such. So I was really concerned about the quality of what I was using. I was not very open to vitamins at the time, but I knew there was some room for something, and I was looking for that something. And I had gotten a phone call from a Shaklee distributor, and I was not open to hearing anything she really had to say, but that kind of put a question in my mind was, I don't really know everything, and I am highly aware of this, and I think we all need to be highly aware of that in order for us not to close other people off and other opportunities off. So I started researching the vitamin world and the different companies, and I found amazing things about Shaklee. I mean, just me researching it myself rather than being fed information. So what I found was amazing, and I thought, well, I'm going to be my own guinea pig. I'm going to use it myself and see what happens. So I was told to go on Vitalizer, and 3 days after I started Vitalizer, I went to a massage therapist that I normally go to, and he asked me what I was on. He said, your energy is amazing. I just couldn't sit still. My focus was great. It was, normally during the time of the day that I would see him, I would be dragging a little bit, but I had amazing energy. So that's kind of where it clicked for me, where if it was so great for me and I was eating perfect, well, what I considered perfect.
Yeah, as perfect as you could. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Then how would all my patients, how would they respond to this? So I needed something easier for them because I know the changes are very hard to make. So I needed even more for them than what they were even getting from food. And I knew the quality of food was highly decreasing. So that's where I came to it, and it's been amazing since, and some great experiences with my clients and their success.
Which we're going to share in just a couple minutes. And I've got a couple slides here, Mary, about the purity, the potency, the performance around the Shaklee products. And I just want to lift up a couple of these because I thought it was interesting that you went to the internet and just going to YouTube and the FC Shaklee channel there and going on the internet and just seeing what you could find. And you came away really understanding that Shaklee sets the standards in science. And
Absolutely.
one of the things we learned recently is that the U.S. Pharmacopoeia sets a standard for testing for contaminants, and they recommend, their standards require testing for 80 contaminants in and pesticides in raw materials. Shaklee conducts over 350 contaminants they test for. That's the difference. When Roger Barnett came to Shaklee, he had a lot of experience with manufacturing, and he read in the literature that Shaklee conducted 80,000 quality control tests a year. And he thought that was a really high number, and he questioned whether that was accurate. So we had poor Marjorie Fine, who is the head of the legal department, count all the tests that actually occurred, and the number turned out to be closer to 84,000, and that was 7 years ago, and now that number is up to 100,000 tests a year. That is something to be proud of for those of us who represent the company, but it's very important for consumers because we live in a day and age where it's very hard for consumers to know the quality of products, especially in the area of supplements because there's so little regulation by the FDA. Same way with the potency. There's one thing that, because Shaklee runs these very stringent tests on the raw materials, they screened for potency and purity because you can't control how much sunshine a plant gets. You can't control how much rain it gets, and that all affects the potency of the essential elements in those foods. And then when it comes to performance, Shaklee's really known for their absorption, and there are many studies in which there's one we list here that they did a study on one of the tablets that's in the Vitalizer strip that's a combination of B vitamins and vitamin C, which are the water-soluble vitamins. And because of the unique delivery system that has 12 patents on it, it allows the body to absorb 198% more of the B vitamins over a 12-hour period than a conventional delivery system where you just pop the tablet in your mouth. So this is why people get the results that they do. There's over 100 scientific publications that have been published in peer-reviewed journals, and over $250 million have been invested in clinical research. So these are really significant. And I came across this study when I was preparing for this Dallas nutrition seminar, and it was by Consumer Labs, and they were doing a review of vitamin D products. 29% of the products that they tested didn't pass their test. 2 of them were in combination with calcium and vitamin K, so probably for bone density, right? They were contaminated with lead. They had a gummy supplement for children that contained over 250% of the vitamin D of what they had listed on the label. 250% more. At the same time, there was a gummy for adults, and I haven't figured out why adults need a gummy, but contained only a third of the vitamin D that was listed. There was a liquid that provided only 44%, and there was a vitamin D, vitamin K product that provided only 74%. I mean, for heaven's sakes, this is why, Shaklee has often said what's on the label is in the tablet, and all of us would think, well, of course, and we wouldn't think why would it be any different? But in the world, the supplement world, it can be very different. And then the landmark study that was conducted with people in the Shaklee world who had been taking Shaklee products for over 20 years was the average. The average was in their early 60s, and they were compared to data on people who took no supplements or had taken a multivitamin. And amazing that the Shaklee people were just so much healthier. Their triglycerides, which are those sticky, fatty things in your bloodstream, were 33% lower than the other two groups. Their cholesterol levels were lower by 11%. Their C-reactive protein, which is an indicator of heart disease, 60% lower. And the homocysteine level, again, that is an indicator for heart disease, was 36% lower. It was really quite dramatic. Now, studies are showing that American consumers are looking for these kinds of supplements: a multivitamin, vitamin C, calcium, antioxidants, fish oil, vitamin D, vitamin E, probiotics, B vitamins, lutein, and lycopene. But the question for them is they don't know what brand to trust, and they don't know what dosage to take, and they don't know what products to take together, and they don't know how many to have. It's really very confusing for them. And that's when this wonderful product, Vitalizer, came out that was based on a lot of the research that came out of the landmark study. 80 nutrients in a daily strip, and each one is exactly the right amount, and it is absorbed in exactly the right place in the intestinal tract, which I'll show you in a moment. But I was going to tell you a quick story. This is Ralph. He is my most favorite cat ever. He's a year and a half, and he shouldn't be sleeping in my plant, but he on Friday night something happened to him. He went outside and he got into antifreeze. Well, I didn't know it at the time. I couldn't find him for about a couple of hours. When he finally made his way back to the back porch, he was in very bad shape. His eyes were all glazed over. They wouldn't focus. He was extremely weak. He was cold. And now it's 9 o'clock on Friday night, so no veterinarian is going to be open. And so we tried to, get him hydrated, and we tried to keep him warm. But the next morning, my wonderful visiting veterinarian came, and he immediately he started examining him, and he said, I think he's had antifreeze poisoning. And he immediately hydrated him, and he gave him a shot of B vitamins because antifreeze poisoning is deadly. There is no treatment for it, and the reason it's deadly is it destroys the kidneys. And the point I wanted to make is there's no treatment for it, but he immediately started doing vitamin therapy. He took him away, and he told me that things did not look good, and I shouldn't get my hopes up. But he would see what he could do. So he kept him on Saturday, and all Saturday night, I'm asking for an angel to come over and watch over this little guy. And the next morning, I am dreading going to my voicemail, and here it was Dr. Vigil, and he said Ralph is much better. His temperature was back up. He was rehydrating and all of that. Well, the reason I tell you that is I picked him up today, and he had minimal kidney damage, even though for a while it looked like he would, but it's not permanent, and he brought it back. And he came home, so he was given B vitamin therapy all over the weekend, and he came home today and with the medication. Now, this doctor is a holistic doctor, but he knows I'm really jumpy about medication. He said, this is a probiotic. And I looked at the label, and it is very similar to the Shaklee probiotic Optiflora. And he said the probiotic will feed on the toxins that damage the kidney and protect it. So I tell you that story because Ralph is alive and well, and B vitamins, I started doing research about nutrients for the kidney, and there it was, B complex, which we always talk about it being essential for the brain and the nervous system. It's depleted by sugar and refined carbs and alcohol and caffeine and stress and medications. In other words, most people's lives. It helps convert food to energy. It helps prevent cravings, but it is very good for all the parts of the body, including kidney health. And probiotics, when you read about probiotics and all the things they do, they heal the gut, which is a major part of healing for any serious diseases. Almost always have a connection to the gut. 80% of the immune system is in the gut, but also even neurotransmitters, which is so much of the conditions that Mary has to deal with people who have depression, anxiety, and mood swings, and nervous disorders. And so I made a list of all the things probiotics do to remind us how important it is. And they are, and then omega-3 fatty acids, right on all of the research you find. It's very good for healing of the kidney when people have kidney disease, good for menopausal symptoms, reduces inflammation, it's good for the brain and the eyes and the health, heart health. And so all of these things, all of these products here, you can buy separately, but you get them all right there in that daily strip. And in great levels, and then they are broken down to be absorbed in the digestive system exactly where they should be. Each nutrient, some need to be released in the stomach, some in the small intestine, some in the large intestine. And so that's why that Vitalizer is such a remarkable product. So, Mary, we just have a couple minutes left, but could you just tell us just some of the results that you have been getting with your patients with these products?
Well, first, I've had amazing results, but one lady that came to me, she's been seeking treatment for, I believe, 10 years or more, but she has started doing a infused therapy of some kind for $700 a month. She's been doing that for a long time, and then she has this autoimmune diseases, and it started with just Lyme's disease, but then it trickled down to being so many different things over these periods of time, and she has at least 9 medications on top of this $700 treatment that she does every single month. And she was very leery about starting anything new. She knew a lot about nutrition, and she knew a lot about herbs and different things like that. So we just started her on the Vitalizer, Omega, and B, and she said she hasn't felt this good in years. I believe she said about 10 years. And she's lost 10 pounds, which she said she's never been able to lose pounds before, especially in 1 month, losing 10. That was a huge boost for her. And because of that, she's able to do a lot more and push a lot further with her health.
And Mary, wasn't she the one who, as soon as we had done a 3-way call with her, wasn't she the one that texted you about thanking you because you were the first person who had?
I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead. She was the first. You said you were the first person who had offered her hope.
Yeah, she said she felt amazing hope, and she had been so depressed for so long, thinking that there was no hope because all doctors had told her that she had no hope. She was not going to get any better. These were just Band-Aids to cover up, her symptoms, and she really started feeling that those things were starting to heal.
Great. So, another client?
He was a husband of one of my clients, who he became then my client. But a doctor had told him that in order to get a surgery that he needed done on a hernia, he needed to lose 60 pounds. He had never been interested in losing weight. He was 400 pounds. He was very, he said that this is the way I'm going to be, and I can't change it. And he's like, man. I'm just like, I had put him on the cinch plan, and after 4 days of being on the cinch plan instead of his plan, he had lost 10 pounds. He was thrilled, obviously, that this was really working. And he said it wasn't a problem sticking to it. He loved it. It tasted amazing. And he's continuing to have great results from it. I have many other clients. Most of them have depression, anxiety, cravings of all kinds. Everybody's drinking pop, which is so terrible for so many reasons. And they have little to no vegetables in their diet. And they kind of laugh at me, too, saying, oh, I have a great diet. And so I ask them, well, how many vegetables are you having? Well, maybe a serving. That's pretty healthy. So really, they all are coming from a place where they really, really need our help. And I think so many people are out there like that.
And so these products at the bottom are pretty much the starting order for most of them, right? Vitalizer, B-complex, Omega Guard, and then the cinch shakes.
Absolutely, because all of them have weight issues. They're all stressed out. They have many things going on, but this will really give them a great foundation.
So there's a great starting point for people. And what I love about Vitalizer is that I know if someone will start on Vitalizer, that they're going to get results. They're going to feel better, have more energy, begin to start rebuilding healthy cells and start healing the gut with the probiotic. And I also love pairing it up with the cinch shakes, especially for a breakfast shake, so that they're starting the day with a good level of protein and fiber and nutrients. So there is our Healthy and Fit program, and that's a great place to begin our prevention strategy. So back over to you, Gary.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, Mary, for your contribution.